Okay. Well, like I said, it doesn't look as cool as a now or Misty. I can talk about Misty later, but the big robots out there now. But as Alton said, it kind of looks like a screen, but there's a lot of stuff in them that's pretty cool. So we'll get into that. Um, it's the intelligent motion, like Carl was talking about, like the Mars rover. You got to figure out where you got to get in. But Astro takes that one step further. I mean, it uses the thing that a lot of robots use now. It's called SLAM technology. Um, that's where it measures distance to objects and maps the house, but it moves so fast when it's going around. It's pretty mind-boggling. I'll show you guys a little later. But they call that intelligent motion. So it's like you got to get from this place to this, and it calculates. It says thousands of different routes, and I don't know how it can fit in my house, but that's what it says. Thousands of different routes to get from one place to the other, and then it picks the best path. Here's images of it planning different routes to get to a certain place. I don't know if that's up there yet. So, but the big thing that it does is not only does it look at stationary objects, but it recognizes a person walking. When it's going, it'll slow down and stop and say, I'm going to let you pass first, or a pet, so you don't crash into each other. I think he's the first robot that does that tries to guess where you're going and go around your path so you don't cross each other. I mean, if you're just standing still, it'll just keep going. But if it sees you start to walk, he's going to go, whoop, I'll let you pass first. I think that's his biggest new thing that we haven't seen in any robots yet. Have you guys heard of any robots doing that yet? So I think that's pretty new. Move to the next picture. So you kind of seen this before, but that's how he sees if that picture comes up pretty soon, that's how his map looks of stuff. And you can see how you can clearly see the human being and sections him off. I don't know if he's as good with animals as he is with people, but they claim he is in path crossing and stuff. So let's get to the impressive stuff. But that intelligent motion is a really good thing. Like I said, I don't think anybody else has done that yet. That's other than that, we're going to kind of get into the same kind of stuff that a lot of robots are doing now.
Doesn't Tesla use that technology on their cruise mode, where the vehicle can detect obstacles and stop if necessary?
Oh, yeah, good point. That's right. All those automatic driving cars are using that technology. So I didn't think of that. You're right.
Well, the only thing I'll say to that, you're quite right. That's an interesting technology. And even if you look at something like Pepper, it does a very rudimentary attempt to achieve what Astro's doing. But what you've got to remember is the price point that you're getting at Astro. You know, a Tesla's what? Yeah. A
Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase. The only home robot that, other than maybe Pepper, that is watching what you're doing and trying to predict ahead of time its path. But good point. I forgot about the cars, and I didn't know Pepper was doing that.
When I say it's doing it, Scott, it's not doing it properly, because the one thing it's really, really missing is a decent three-dimensional sensor. The new Peppers no longer have a 3D sensor in them. They've got stereoscopic vision. Now, it improves some elements of their navigation, but it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you think the three-dimensional image that Pepper makes looks something like this one that Astro does? And it's
not at all. That's far more advanced. Pepper's navigation looks far more like the original path selection pictures you were showing. In fact, okay, when I saw it, I thought that could have been taken off of a Pepper.
There is one problem. It's all perfect. He's never bumped into anything, but he will run over stuff. We have cats. He runs over the cat's tails all the time. So he needs something really low to the ground to see. But then, of course, when he goes from our living room to another room, you know, you have that little beveled edge. He'd have to tell that, okay, I can drive over that, but I can't drive over this cat's tail. But other than that, it's pretty much perfect. And I'll show you, like I said, at the end, how quick he zooms. I've got a little opening between my curtains into the theater, and he's got like this much space on each side, and he just whips through that. He's never hit anything. So that's the big thing. The other stuff is kind of cool. So I'll get into that now. So I went into the problem. Oh yeah, when his battery's running low, it's kind of funny. We close the theater up and he'll start problem solving, trying to figure out how to get out of there. He should kind of know he can't get out by now, but he doesn't. He runs back and forth and tries to find. Finally, he'll stop at the door or the curtains and just go, "Hey, I need to get out of here. My battery's about shot." So, I mean, there is some AI in them, you know, quite a bit actually. As far as learning faces, it's just like the rest of the robots. For Alton, if you don't have, they learn your face, you look at their camera, they study it. Okay, got it. Astro does that in like 5 seconds now. But they're still hit and miss. Like if I have these glasses on, he has a little trouble sometimes recognizing me with the glasses on. Not always, but sometimes. He'll think I'm somebody new. But that's pretty much the same as all the other robots. Okay, I missed a couple photos here. You don't need to see that. The periscope. That's another nice new innovation they came up with. All of our robots, except Pepper's, with the exception of Pepper, who stands pretty tall, but all the rest of the home robots are low to the ground. So if you're not home and you want to see if you left the stove on or something like that, you can control them from your phone or iPad or whatever. And you can go look around and you can see, did that photo come up yet? You can see he sees pretty high up like that, and it can turn while he turns, and I think that, yeah, the periscope turns on its own some too. And he's got a camera below, but that periscope is pretty nice. And he hasn't banged it into anything yet, knock on wood. So if you guys have heard of Ring Security, they're partnered with Amazon. You put sensors in it's just a security system, but he pairs with the Ring Security. So if an alarm or if a sensor goes off, he'll go and run over there, take a look, see if it's an unknown human being. He'll notify you. So that's a pretty nice patrol feature, going to see where things are. And also, he recognizes pets. But I figured out that algorithm. Anything that's on 4 legs.
Yeah.
You're about to see, we have a Pegasus statue.
The Pegasus, this is...
Yeah. He was recording Pegasus. It's like, sorry, Astro, that's not really a pet. Pegasus had to move.
So interesting that he recognizes pets, but doesn't realize they have tails.
Right. Now, the one company, called Anki, they're owned by Digital Dream Labs now. They make this one, Alton, that's but this one doesn't recognize pets, but their other one, Cosmo, doesn't. He can tell cats from dogs, which is pretty cool. Astro can't tell what kind of animal it is, which that's a little bit of a disappointment, because if Anki could do it, I don't know why Amazon couldn't. It can't, it just discerns. Somebody posted on the forum that when their baby's crawling on the floor on 4 legs, he says, "Hey, there's a pet," you know, sends it, and he starts recording video of the child. But
where do they keep these all those recordings though?
Oh,
that's
internal
storage or?
Good question. Yeah, that's stored on their server, and then you just access them on your phone or your pad, and you can store it on your phone or pad. But Amazon or Astro is cloud controlled, which means his main computer stuff is all done in the cloud. Like if our internet goes down, he's a brick, which is pretty sad.
Found a new purpose for Astro. It would be perfect. In property management, the inspections.
Yes.
Just drop it on the front door and let them just wandering around, taking pictures, making videos, finding maintenance issues, the visible ones at least.
Yeah, that's a great point. In fact, there was a YouTube video of some company that was doing something like that. I stumbled on that was, I think it was checking, I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I think businesses would find it pretty handy. And like I said, it's a good security tool for when the business locks up at night. It's patrolling around as often as you want, checking things. Now on this one, this is a new feature they added recently. You just take it, you say, come here, look at this door. This is the downstairs door. You don't have to type anything. You don't have to enter anything. And he goes, okay, that's the downstairs door. And then he'll learn if the door is open or closed. Can you see that picture now? There's the laboratory room door. He saw that's open. And when he's patrolling, if he sees one of those doors open, he'll alert you too. So that's a new thing, sort of. So that's the patrol feature, which is pretty cool. But I don't think there's any major advancement in robot technology there that wasn't there on other. I mean, seeing a door open or closed is pretty nice, but I think even now where Pepper could do that if you put some effort into it.
Funny how, I'm sorry, I'm always interrupting. Amazon, so first they got Alexa in, and now she got a toy soldier wandering around the house. Security. So it's conspiracy theory. It's funny, isn't it? I mean,
so Scott, that raises a very interesting question. Is Astro Alexa based?
Yeah.
Good, excellent question. As you've heard you guys bring up, a lot of people say it's just Alexa on wheels. Very much so, because when you write routines, you're actually using the Alexa app. Like I'll get into that in a moment, the routines. But yeah, it is. Its voice is Alexa's voice. I changed mine to a male British voice just to get away from it sounding like Alexa, but it doesn't really use its voice very often. It uses like R2D2 beeps and boops and stuff. And they're trying to stay away from that, but it does trigger Alexa when you ask it questions a lot. Like if you ask, what's the weather? It'll pull on Alexa to tell you the weather. So it's heavily Alexa based, yes.
So that's really interesting, because there have been a number of robotics companies. I mean, Sambot did the Sambot Nano, which had Alexa embedded in it. Some of the stuff that came out of Ubitech originally was Alexa based. And of course, because most of them have been Asian, or in fact primarily Chinese companies that have done it, they've decided not to continue paying their fees to Amazon, so Amazon have shut them down. Yeah, I mean, so things like the Sambot Nano is just useless these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they saw what other people were doing and decided that was an approach they could take.
Which you guys bring up another good point. What happens if Amazon decides to shut down their cloud server on Astro? Then he's done, which you don't have with like Now and Pepper and Misty and other robots like that. So yeah, it is, without Alexa, it loses a lot, but he has his own software, but he also pulls heavily on Alexa. That's the best answer I can give you.
So there's a constant connection between Astro and some sort of, I don't know how to call it, central.
Yes.
Whatever, right?
Right.
I like the technical terms, but.
Yeah, his main computer is really, a lot of his stuff like is stored away like 1,000 miles from me. Right. Yeah, you've got that's the way a lot of robots are now. Even this guy, if his server goes down, he doesn't do much. Even the IBOs now are using a server, a computer stored somewhere else. And fortunately, the SoftBank robotics, like now in Pepper.
So you're not really, when you pay the 1,600 or whatever, you don't really own it. not
Good
entirely.
point. I never thought of that, but he makes a good point, doesn't he? So yeah, that cloud server can be a problem if they decide to shut it down. There's nothing you can do.
Alton, I think this is something that we've seen in a number of different platforms. Dave and I were both backers of the what we call Jibo and the Americans called Jibo robot. Now, I ended up getting a refund from them because they suddenly decided that their cloud services wouldn't be available outside the US. So everybody who funded them on their crowdfunding campaign, who were outside the US, were refunded their money. They just rely very, very heavily now on cloud computing because the issue of long battery life and good computing power, they're mutually exclusive. So the natural route to go is to go build myself a thin client on my robot and put all my main computing power in the cloud. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that Misty robot, you guys should look into that and get on the waiting list, because that's a lot like Now and Pepper, and it doesn't need a cloud server. That's the only other high-end robot I know about that doesn't need a cloud server to operate. So let's get into the fun stuff, like bringing you snacks and the programming, which I'm sure you guys want to see. You got that. They made Ziploc made these, you should see a picture shortly, of containers you can put snacks and stuff in, and you can stack them up. Like I got a stack of like 3 on mine with crackers and stuff. So if you want a snack, if you have an Alexa in your room, you can just say, send Astro here, and Astro will come to wherever that Alexa disc or speaker is. That's pretty cool. And I'll show you the program I wrote for that. Well, it's called a routine, not really a program. But some of us, I have this thing called, see if you can see it, called Bartendro. Let's see if I can. This is there's a tube and a dispenser here, and behind the bar is the pumps. And I made a video where I would ask for a drink, and Astro would go to the spot, and then the machine would pour the drink into him, and then he'd bring me the drink. But I have to move this above his charger because he's only perfectly placed where I want him to be on the charger. But another guy came up with these things. He bought these dispensing machines that actually use pet food, but he's using other things in them, like candy and nuts and stuff. And then he put a table over the top with a hole, and whichever machine dispenses it, it slides down the chute into the hole and drops into Astro and brings in whatever he wants. So that's a hobbyist thing I think you guys would be interested in. Like, there is some things you can do outside the box, just not a lot. I think that's about as far as we can take it for a hobbyist, is having him dispense things and building things that, but as from a software, from a programming side, you're limited. And I'm almost to that point. One cool thing he does, if your cell phone battery's running low, he'll come and find you and take your phone, you plug it into him, and he'll leave and whatever. And when your phone's charged, he'll come find you, give you back your phone when it's charged. So that was a pretty clever idea I wouldn't have thought of. So you want to see about the programming part now. Well, that's easy for anybody to do. But it's pretty limited. So let me show you. If you guys got Alexa, you can actually go on the app and create a routine. So this one's for when we're watching a movie. All I have to say is to an Alexa speaker in the theater, I say it's movie time. Oh no, I got this one. This is a different app, but 3:00 p.m. That's tea time here. You'll say it's movie time. Do you want some snacks? And then, is that image up yet, guys?
Yeah, I can see it.
The routine, okay, so the title of the routine I just type is enjoying movie. The time he'll do it is at 3:02, and then he'll say it's movie time. Do you want some snacks? And he'll go to my chair in the theater. See, it says Astro in front of that. That's where you enter the command, and you set up locations just by having him go somewhere. You say like, follow me, stop, and say, this is my chair. And he'll learn that spot as your chair. It's that easy. And then the next thing is he'll express a joy expression. And then after that, because I don't want him staring at me when I'm watching the movie, I tell him to go to the movie spot. I mean, the app tells him to go to the movie spot. And then he'll go park by your chair and stare at the screen. That's how you program them. You can't go outside that routine. There's no way to do anything outside their app, their routine. Let's see. He does recognize certain sounds you can enter in those routines. Like if you're snoring, he'll turn out the lights, but Alexa does that too. So they're stealing from Alexa for that. Like if your Alexa speaker hears you snoring, you can make a routine, turn off the light, turn off the TV. So anything that you see in that Alexa app, you can incorporate into him. I did another one using IFTT though. If you guys, anybody doesn't know what that is, it's just a place where like all your stuff, your Alexas, your Roombas, your security stuff, they put all their data in there, and you can mix it up. This will make more sense when you see this image. So if he sees any unknown person in my house, in addition to the security system, whether I'm home or not, he'll speak out loud, intruder detected. And then you see below that, it says IFTT. He'll use that app to call my iPad or phone or whatever I set him to. It'll actually dial me up, and the app will say, hey, Astro saw somebody. So if you look at that IFTT, you can link all that to your Alexa, which links to Astro. Does that make sense? So it's pretty limited on what there. So the motion is the biggest thing, like how we can move back and forth, and the vision is pretty nice too. From a hobbyist perspective, I pretty much showed you as far as you can go, but it's cool to have a robot, that just hangs out and does this thing. You don't have to sit there and think about code, how you're going to make him do that. He'll do that all. It'd be really nice if it had some kind of an arm someday. I mean, with the advances in the AI and stuff, I think we're going to start seeing more robots using arms and hands to pick things up. What do you think, Carl?
I think it's one of those things that on the surface of it sounds very, very easy. I mean, I certainly had somebody on another group who wanted to get Pepper to pick up a glass. Now, this was somebody who didn't have any programming skills, so they went out to ChatGPT and actually asked ChatGPT to write the code for them, and it did a pretty good job. The only problem was that it assumed that there was an object definition for glass on Pepper, which there wasn't. Yeah. So it basically said, track the glass, now pick it up.
Right.
which would be a wonderful situation. But I think you're right. There's a lot happening with AI in vision recognition and in and I'm not being funny, the ability to move a robotic arm to a specific point, if you can identify that point, has been around for a long time. Inverse kinematics models, forward feeding neural networks, they'll all do that very, very easily. So I think, I don't think it'll be too many years before we see that. I think as well, I certainly know that Dave and I, and I'm not being funny, Scott, you and I discussed this years ago. The biggest problem in robotics at the moment was a bit like the early days of the smartphone, where consumer expectations far outstrip technical capabilities. Now that will change. There will be a time where that balances, and actually the technology can meet the expectations. But right now, the major reaction you get to people when you show them a robot is that all it does then?
Yes, it's like I say to a lot of friends, like they're like, or I mean, you know, other robot friends, they think that like Astro or whatever is going to be the greatest. This is going to be a big hit, and I'm going to be like, how many times have you had a friend at your house that saw a robot and said, "Oh, I got to buy one. Where do I get one?" Right? It just never, or they're interested till you tell them the price, and they're like, "Oh, that's crazy." But the fact of the matter is, like Astro originally for $1,000, you basically have a computer plus all this hardware built in. You know, they're not making any money much on $1,000, right?
Right, and this is the other issue that we've got for consumer robotics to really kick in. You need to get below that $1,000 price point, but
Yeah.
with everybody's expectations, you know, and I'll put this in perspective for those of you who aren't aware of it. A now robot, which will do nothing that's helpful for you, yeah, is £7,000 sterling, yeah. You know,
Yep.
a Pepper robot, if you want the full business edition with real-time speech recognition and everything, is close on $20,000. You know, that isn't viable for somebody. I mean, you're talking about the price of a car
Yeah.
to put something in your house that, as Dave said, doesn't actually do anything out of the box. Yeah. So unless you're prepared to sit down and write a lot of code to get it to do something, you know, you've got a $20,000 brick if you buy a Pepper. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the way the new AI is going to change a lot, because anybody will be able to code right now. I mean, not anybody, but I mean, just a basic understanding of code. You can look and see, oh, I just need to change this little thing, and then it'll, you know, you'll be.
I think some of the things you've talked about here tonight, I mean, the ability to do simple routines, you know, that would meet an awful lot of people's requirements. But then for those of us who want to go a little bit further, IFTTT is a really interesting platform. Guys, Chris Alton, do you know what IFTTT is?
No, I've not heard of it myself.
Right. IFTTT is an online service that allows you to send data to that service and let it make decisions. So, for example, I could have a sensor in my office, yeah? And that sensor might be a motion sensor. So when I walk into my office in the morning, that motion sensor sends some data up to IFTT. A person is in the office.
Exactly.
Yeah. And IFTTT goes, if a person is in the office, then I will turn on the lights. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what IFTTT stands for is if this, then that.
But is it decision making, or is it following a script?
Right.
It's just scripted. So
yeah.
it's like if you meet this condition, then do this thing.
Exactly.
So for something like turning on my office lights, it's perfect. If the office sensor says there's a person in the room, turn on the lights. Yeah. And you know, we've got one here, intruder detected. So if an intruder is detected, call my iPad and tell me. Yeah. It's a surprisingly simple but useful system, and it does allow you to integrate a lot of stuff. So I could have a sensor which goes,
if turns the light immediately as you get in.
But I could have a sensor which says, if the kitchen gets really hot, send Astro in there to have a look and see if I've left the stove on.
That's useful, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally hundreds of apps it integrates with. Like it integrates with Hue lights, everything. I posted a link to it in the chat.
Yeah,
it's
you guys should try it out because you're gonna find something you like in there. You're just gonna find something. There's just so many things. But like you
And-
said, yeah, you just download the app and like if you got a Roomba, you can have music start playing. But there was one really funny one on there that I used. You ever like got to go meet somebody and you can't get away from. They're really cool. Not cutting down people, but it's like they talk and talk and talk, and it's like you got an appointment somewhere, and you could have that IFTT call you at a certain time. So it's like, oh, just a minute, I gotta grab this phone call. Hey, I gotta go. That's one of the apps that has just to show you like how creative some people are with stuff. Like you guys will be writing your own recipes on there. I'll bet you'll think of something that's really clever, and it's all drag and drop.
And Scott's just explained how all my conversations end.
So one thing that occurred to me is you've got Astro there calling you an Alexa app. So you can actually write your own Alexa apps, and I've done so, which makes me wonder, can you, if you can't directly write code for Astro, you can presumably you could create your own Alexa app, install it on your Alexa, and maybe could you then get Astro to use that? Can it use any app that Alexa knows about?
Yes, it does. I can trigger any Alexa app on Astro too, just by using the keywords or whatever. It's all one thing, really. They've incorporated Astro. I don't know if Astro shows up on your guys' Alexa app. I suppose not, huh? Because you're not in the USA. Have you checked? No.
So
yeah.
It'd be a bit clunky then, but you probably I guess you could write very custom Alexa apps and get Astro to use them to do more fun stuff. But I don't know how you'd send commands back to Astro. That's the thing.
Yeah, funnily enough, Dave, that was exactly what I was thinking. I know you can write Alexa skills, and you can even host them yourself. So it kind of gets interesting in the fact that, well, if you're hosting a service that's doing something, you're really limited by your imagination on what's happening on the service. You then come down to, well, what can I do with Astro to do that? And maybe that is only, send it to a particular place and run a particular skill, yeah. But that could still be quite a powerful tool.
Yeah, are you guys talking about where you can like write an Alexa skill outside of these routines? I think they call it blueprints, right? Is that what you mean? Yeah, I haven't tried that. I thought about that, but you're still so limited. It still just be the same things that Astro can do,
well, not really, because if you can write an Alexa skill in an arbitrary programming language, you have to, I think, get a developer account, which is free, or Amazon. But you can write it in Python or JavaScript or.
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying now. Right. Yeah, you could make it more complex. I never thought about that. And I did make one of those blueprint ones a long time, a very simple one, but.
I mean, and this to me is where you can start to get into some really interesting stuff. I did a lot of work with Cardiff University for independent living for the elderly, where we were filling a house up with sensors that were then sending data back. But if you then incorporate that into an Alexa service, you could actually have a situation where if a sensor is triggered in a particular room, Astro can go into that room and then using its cameras identify what the problem is.
Oh wow, yeah, I never thought about that, but you're right. I never thought about that. But good point. I guess I didn't play around enough. You bring up a good point about the elderly too. Another useful thing he can do is you just say, remind me every day to take this pill at like 2 o'clock, and you put the pills in his container there, and he'll look relentlessly for you. He won't stop until you take your pill and say, okay, I took it. So that's really good for the elderly.
That's really cool. Really cool.
It is.
Having worked in the hospitality industry, and I remember while I was doing the job of a waiter, just standing there, and the joke would be that the job that we do, this is the sort of thing that robots could do. Serving canapes, just standing there with a tray and with a smile.
No, I hate to disappoint you, mate, but I actually sell robots that have got heated shelves that can go up to a table, take an order,
Perfect.
relay that order back to the kitchen. Then they'll wait until the food's put onto the heated trays. They'll
Fantastic.
go to the table, and then when you've finished your meal, they'll even come and take the payment for you on a payment card.
No sciatica, no complaints.
Absolutely, mate. It's happening. I'm not saying it's there, and I'm not saying it's perfect yet, but it's happening. Yeah.
The sooner the better. I can tell you.
Yeah, that's another
Oh,
thing.
God.
They're worried about this AI. It's probably gonna game on that department, a lot of jobs, and someday I suppose. isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
See, the biggest fear I've got is that I'll go into a restaurant, the robot waiter will arrive, tell me what I want to eat. Yeah. Not give me the option and then
Exactly.
just deliver it. Yeah.
According to the information that I've got, this is what you should have today.
Yeah. You have a heart problem? Well, then you can't eat that.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm a grown man. Well, sir, that doesn't really.
Yeah. You
Worse than a
can't
wife, huh? Worse than a wife, huh?
Yeah. This is some of the stuff I think that the guy who left Google recently is concerned about. Yeah.
I heard about that. Yeah, he said, I'm not going to be part of
I
this.
saw the news. Yeah.
Jeffrey Hinton.
That was it. Thank you. But we've got to bear in mind that when people who are highly respected in their fields, like the late Stephen Hawking, says, be bloody careful with AI. This is dangerous stuff. And I paraphrase, obviously, because I'm sure he didn't put it like that. But yeah, we really do need to think about this. And remember, at the moment, people are concerned about AI on a computer. What we're all playing with is AI in a physical device that can affect its physical environment. Astro could be a huge benefit to a lot of people, be it the elderly with the pill taking or whatever it is. But if it gets hacked, it could also potentially damage your home. It could potentially be quite a dangerous item. Not massively. It's not like it can turn your stove on and burn your house down, yeah? But it could certainly cause you some problems.
And people with dark intentions could modify it to cause bigger problems.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's like the nuclear bomb. They could build it, but should they build it? Yeah, it ended a war, but look at the mess it's got us all into.
How long until we have the horses replaced by little Astros on the race, and everybody makes their own bets, isn't it?
Yep.
I'm really interested to see where Amazon want to take this. I don't have a huge problem with Amazon or any of Elon Musk companies or Google or people like that. I think one of the things I find frustrating is people want all of these services for free. They want Google, they want all the things Google provide, but they're not prepared to pay for it. Well, nothing's free. So you pay for it with your data. Yeah. So you've got to expect Facebook and Google and that to use your data to make some money. But it becomes very different when the entity that's in your home is a physical thing. That's a lot harder to turn off.
And there's a lot of people afraid of that too, that this robot is pulling out, although it's supposed to be encrypted, which means that they can't see what we can see. But, like if his video nobody's be able to supposed to see the video but you, but it does go to their server and it does go back to your phone. So who knows, huh?
It's like, let's say that going back to what you were saying before about how it could be very helpful to the elderly. You know, every year, it's all I've seen the news that people who are forgotten and then found dead at their homes because, you know, they had an accident. They couldn't call for help or loud enough for someone to hear. You know, Astro could be very useful in a situation like that.
Absolutely. You
Reporting
could,
to outside whoever's paying attention or sounding an alarm that there hasn't been any sort of activity in the house, or there's, for instance, you can connect, have information from, you know, if you have like a Fitbit around the waist or an iWatch or whatever, that can transmit, you know, the heartbeat, you know, the breathing, all that information related to someone's health. A lot more people, first of all, I think they will be feeling more secure in being alone. You know, because if something happens, I know that there will be a response, you know.
Alton, it's really interesting what you're talking about because the British government through Innovate UK, I mean, I've done a lot of work in the care area, but I used to focus on care homes, and that was primarily about keeping people active and engaged. Yeah, if you go to Innovate UK and you try and get any grant funding for this type of work, be it research or practical deployment, they're only interested in independent living. And the reason for that is we don't have enough care home places in this country for the people that need them. So the longer the government can keep somebody living independently, the better economically it is for the government. So yeah, you're right. You know, we've put multiple types of sensors all over people's homes to monitor their activity, even down to the fact that we could monitor whether they were showering, for example. So we put a humidity sensor in the bathroom and we would know whenever they showered or bathed. We had power consumption sensors on things like their kettles and their ovens and their microwaves, so we could be sure that they were making a cup of tea, cooking themselves something to eat, all of this kind of stuff. Yeah. But you always have to remember that there's going to be something that slips through the net. Yeah. You know, I might be able to monitor when they turn the cooker on, when they turn on the microwave, and know that they're eating, but I can't monitor when they ordered something from Just Eat. Yeah. So if they go 3 days ordering takeaways from Just Eat, I'll get an alert saying they're not eating. So
yeah, I see what you mean.
It's about balance, I think. Here it's about balancing the services that can be provided automatically with the services that actually require a person involved.
You guys bring up a great idea. Okay, you could bring Astro into this. Okay, you're wearing, the old person or whoever is wearing the watch, and it loses, they could have fallen down, they could have taken the phone. Astro could be notified and he would go find the person and go, oh,
exactly.
Took the watch off, right? Or hey, they're laying on the floor. Now he doesn't have the ability to see if I'm laying on the floor, but that sure would be a good idea. I mean, what a great.
But what he does have the ability to do, Scott, is to contact a central service desk and say, I'm concerned about this person. I've found them and here's the photograph.
Yeah, and this is a pretty simple thing to do. You would think that Amazon would be kind of pushing this forward, senior care.
It's a great selling point, isn't it?
It is. It's a great selling point.
Apple iWatch.
You know, back in what was it, 2013, when we were on the Now Developer group, us guys, somebody actually had a lot of these ideas. Remember that, guys? There was somebody who was trying to make an elderly person app that would watch. I mean, this goes back 11 years. Somebody had this.
Well, I certainly remember having conversations with Bruno Massonier, who started Aldebaran. And one of the reasons that he was interested in elderly care was his own mother. And apparently she had one of these full devices, which was like a wristwatch, but really ugly. And what he wanted to be able to do was the fact that if she had guests coming over, she used to take it off and chuck it on the sideboard because she thought it was ugly. And of course, that would trigger the thing to go off. So he thought the idea of having, so he thought a really good idea would be to have a robot in the house that could then go and find out what had happened. Had she taken the watch off, or had she really fallen over? And having just had my own mother end up in a situation where the number of falls she was having meant we had to put her into a care facility. That sounds horrible, put her into. She had to go and live in a care facility, yeah? That type of technology, personally, I can see how important that is. And if Astro at $1,000, $1,700, can provide that remote interface for a care organization, that when an alert goes off on a fall or whatever, actually Astro goes and says, what's happened? Yeah. I mean, if it goes and says what's happened, and sends a photo or a video to somebody on a care service desk, who can immediately, presumably they could speak through Astro, through the services that would be available.
Yes.
Yeah.
Christopher, I think you had something to say.
Oh, well, it's like an extension of the Apple iWatch, where it monitors your heart rate, or if you're in a car crash, it'll automatically notify the emergency services, I believe. And it could. I think we're talking about something similar to that, maybe.
I think I think you're absolutely right, Christopher. It's something that's very dear to my heart. You know, Dave knows I've worked on this for a long time with robots, and none of them have really fitted to provide a decent service, because they've either been too expensive, too clunky. You know, I'm not being funny. You couldn't use a Now robot for this, because the damn thing would walk into a wall before it got to the person it was supposed to be checking on. Yeah.
Or fall over.
Yeah, I'll fall over. Yeah. You know, I could use a Pepper robot, but who's got £20,000 to pay for the hardware to put into a home for that to be done? It comes down to that cost balance, and Astro's really interesting in that cost benefit equation.
And Chris brings up is iWatch on IFTT. Do you know? The Apple Watch?
I don't know, to be honest.
I'll be very surprised if it isn't.
So anybody could do this themselves. His idea, they could write you don't even write it, you just drag and drop on IFTT, just put Astro and the watch, pair them up on there, and you're done. You don't even need you need a service or a family member to be able to check on the person, but they would get a notification that, you know, grandma fell and Astro checked and she's okay. Something like that.
Yeah, but that immediately, even if it was just grandma fell, at least somebody would know straight away.
Yep. Yeah, except for a lot of elderly people, like my 88-year-old mom won't even allow a camera in her house. That's going to be a tough problem for some elderly people.
I think it's not applicable to everybody, but it's certainly applicable to some. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I gotta show. Oh yeah, there's all the guys. I'm gonna show you guys this motion.
I'm sorry, Scott. Can I just ask one question with regards to that last photo?
Sure.
is that one of the Segway robots in the background?
Oh yeah, yeah, he's great. He's I'll show you guys a little demo of him. He follows you around like Astro if you just say follow me, even if you're outside. And he does have some intelligent motion too. He'll steer around if there's a person that walks in the path between, he'll steer around the person or an object. But yeah, he's pretty cool. I don't know if there's, I think you can still buy them, but I think they quit manufacturing them. So let me show you something pretty cool here. Get Astro going. Try and line this camera up. We'll see if Gracie stays in the way here. Tilt this down. Astro. Go to the movie spot.
Intruder detected.
No, I have that app running. See, he didn't recognize me. Oh, now that I on my iPad, but quick he moved through there, and then the screen says he arrived there, so right next to the chairs. Unfortunately, Gracie didn't stay in the way, so you couldn't really see what were you able to see that okay?
Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah.
That moves at a fair old speed as well.
He does. Let's see if we can get a longer shot for you guys to see how quick he moves back here. I'll even make this a little tighter, this curtain. Astro, go to the charger. Oh, he moved to avoid Gracie. Oh, that threw him off a little bit. Let's try it again. Yeah, I guess I think Gracie threw him off in the tight curtain. Astro, go to the movie spot. No, she's
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Astro, go to the charger. See, he still fit through there pretty good. Kind of did a little nudge with his head to make sure he could get through. He moves his head a lot when he's moving around.
That's really very impressive.
Yeah, it really is. That's what he does, head and shoulders above everybody else. And then he's docking already.
I've certainly seen comparable navigation, but again, you're talking about orders of magnitude higher cost. I mean, the Temi robots, which are around £7,000 now, yeah. You know, I mean, they've got laser range finding and LiDAR on them. And they do a similar job, but not at the sort of cost price point you're talking about for an Astro. It's very impressive.
They raised the price $500. I was wondering what you guys and I had to wait on the list like a year, like 14 months before and now like seems like everybody's getting invites and they raised the price $500. Now either one, Amazon told them, hey, we're cutting back because I bought a Halo thing that monitors your sleep just last year. They already terminated that and they said the server will be turned off in August, but we're all going to get our money back. So I'm a little worried about this price hike on Astro. And the fact that the invites are going out fast and furious. Did Amazon say you better turn a profit or we're cutting it? Or are they just trying to get more out there? Well, obviously they raised the price because they need money, huh?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they certainly officially announced that the first X number of thousand Astros were going to be at a significantly reduced price. You know, I remember the announcement, so I'm not overly surprised they've hiked the price. So what's the price now, Scott?
1,500. They raised it 500, and it's still on the invite list. Like you can't just buy one, but it seems like people are getting the invites really fast now. Like I said, I had to wait a year after some people already got theirs.
You see, $1,500 doesn't strike me as excessive for that. I think that's good value, yeah. But equally, it limits the market space they've got to sell into. They're looking at people that have got $1,500 of disposable income.
That's right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think when the fact that they bought that iRobot was pretty good sign that they're gonna commit to robotics, because that's a huge company that makes all the vacuuming and mopping robots. So they must be committed to the robotics thing.
Did they also purchase the robotic arm end of that business, or did they only purchase the utility robots?
That's a good question. We should look that up.
Yeah, because iRobot also create the Baxter robots, which were the very simple to program cobot industrial robotic arms. So it'd be really interesting to see if Amazon have got hold of that, because certainly iRobot was in a lot of trouble financially, and you know they only survived because of purchases by other organizations. And I think Amazon's probably the third company that's owned them.
Boy, that's I wasn't aware of that. That's kind of a scary guy. I thought that iRobot was doing really well. I mean, that's the #1 household robot.
I think they're doing really well on their domestic products, but they chose to diversify into these cobotic arms, simple to program, small industrial robotic arms. And I think they put themselves into a precarious financial position because of that. I think if they'd just stuck to the vacuum cleaning and mopping robots, they probably would have been in a better position.
I think so, yeah. Well, it's hard to say what'll happen, but like I said, I find him worth it. That's the big thing. But then I love robots, so I still haven't undecided whether your regular Joe is going to love it or not. Based on what people post on the Facebook group, it's about 2/3 love it and 1/3 are like, whoa, it doesn't really do anything. And people are like, well, what'd you buy it for? Then you know what it was going to do, right?
And again, you come back to the age-old issues that, you know, for the likes of yourself, Scott, Dave, myself, who've got programming backgrounds and capabilities, these, you know, when we buy these robots, we buy them as a platform. We don't buy them as a consumer product. You know, if you're going to hit a mass market, you need to actually provide a consumer product. You know, even if it is, you know, a smartphone that other people can write apps for and put them into an app store that you can download, which was Aldebaran's vision with Now, yeah, although they never executed it, yeah. You're in a situation where consumers will not buy something that doesn't have capability. The likes of yourself, Dave, me, we spend stupid amounts of money on robots because we like robots.
Yeah, like an addiction.
It is like an addiction. You're right. You're right. But unfortunately, there's not enough of us in the world for these companies to make a viable profit. And for Alton and Christopher, you know, to put this into context, if you look at somebody like Boston Dynamic have some of the most superior technology in the world, but nobody has managed to make a profit out of them. Yeah, Boston Dynamic almost went bust. Yeah, and then were bought by Google. Google kept them for 18 months and put them back on the market again. Yeah. And SoftBank bought them. SoftBank kept them for about 2 years and sold them to Hyundai. Yeah. Now they have some great stuff. Their Spot the robot dog is brilliant. Yeah. But what's the practical application for it? and remember, again, we're talking about, a 30 to 40,000 pound robot. Yeah. So this isn't something that you can go, well, I'll stick it in the corner in case it's useful. I think one of the most interesting things about Astro is its price. It sits there at a really, really interesting price point because, if you're a stereo aficionado, for example, you'll spend $1,500 on an amplifier or $1,500 on a turntable. So if you're a geek, and there are a lot of us out there, $1,500 on a robot platform is not particularly expensive.
Right. And there are simple things he does that's useful to anybody. Like if you're working on a YouTube project and you're building something or cooking, when you tell him to play that video, he will watch you and follow you no matter where you go and keep playing that video or music or whatever it is and he's got a really good sound system too. I don't know how well you guys can hear this, but Astro, today's weather.
Currently, in Culver Township, it's 50 degrees Fahrenheit with fog. Today, you can expect showers with a high of 52 degrees and a low of 43 degrees.
You can hear that's pretty good sound. He's like 5 feet away.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And it sounds like that's using the Amazon Poly voices as well.
Yeah, you can pick from 5 different voices, but yeah, he's got the subwoofer and dual speakers. So I mean, it's a really good price for everything.
Change its name. Can you change its name?
Oh, no, you can't. I think there's 2 different, I forget what the other one is. I have to look it up, but you can't pick his own name, unfortunately. Just like your Alexa speaker, you can call it Echo or Alexa or computer. You got those 3 words you can pick. I don't even know if Astro has it anymore. Nothing that I can't pick it. I remember that. I'd have to look.
That's something that I think will make a difference in the way it appeals to people.
I would like, yeah.
Of
I would like to. I'd like to be able to change the name. That would be nice because everybody's like eyeballs, everybody names those. And when you were talking about Boston Dynamics, do you guys know that there's a Boston Dynamics type consumer robot now you can buy that looks like a dog? Have you guys seen that? Oh, haven't you? Let me see if I can find that. It's like $2,000 and it runs and walks it's big.
All right, I've seen the Unitary ones.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, Unitary.
Yeah.
That's
right. I actually sell the Unitary robots. The $2,000 ones are interesting, but they don't have an SDK with them. They do one that's about $3,500, which is basically the same hardware but a more advanced operating system with an SDK, and that thing is absolutely amazing.
It is. You guys got to watch the video of it. I'm interested to get one.
The Unitary A series, they're really, really interesting 4-legged dog robots. Yeah, and again, you're talking about a price point not quite as low as Astro, but you're talking about a price point that when you start looking at the care services industry is viable, it's acceptable. Again, I can only talk about the UK because it's the market I work in. If you want to buy a weighted blanket, so that's a simple blanket with some lead shot sewn into the hem of it. You can buy those online for £40, say, £40 sterling. If you want to buy a weighted blanket for somebody who has autism, they're £200. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of profiteering around the care industry. So, things like Astro, things like the Unitary dogs put into with the right software and the right solutions have huge potential to change people's lives. Sorry, I'm preaching. It's a personal
you're right.
bandwagon of mine.
Absolutely.
Would they
Oh.
appeal to the developer market if they had an SDK or an
Yeah,
API for?
I think they would. I mean, the biggest problem I ever hit when I was working in the care industry, because I was working with things like Pepper, was that everybody loved what Pepper could do, but couldn't justify £20,000 for a piece of hardware and then software on top of it, whatever we did. You know, even if I was to give the software away at cost, yeah, you're talking about £23,000. It's a lot of money. Yeah. If you've got a platform that's £1,500, £2,000, and you can add £1,000 worth of software to it, I'm not being funny, £3,000 is, you know, for somebody who needs it, is less than a mobility scooter. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a viable price point. And this is all about getting this technology down to a viable price point. And the only people who will do that are Amazon, Google, Tesla. You know, it's those guys that are going to actually deliver us the platforms that are at a viable price point. Because people like Aldebaran and Boston Dynamics and that just aren't big enough to absorb those costs.
Right. I'm looking for a picture of that Unitree one to share. Here we go. For the guys that haven't seen it. Oh, I lost my.
We can see that.
Oh, I lost it. Now I was trying to get there was a better picture of them somewhere. Anyway.
Have a look on the Unitree website, guys, if you're interested. One of the most impressive things about that little Unitree A-series dog is the fact that it will actually do a backflip. I mean, it's so impressive. They've got some videos on their websites. Absolutely useless to anybody that doesn't want to do anything than a demo, yeah? But it shows you the capabilities of the hardware technology they've got. They're interesting units, you know, but again, we're still talking about, you know, a price that's probably double what Astro will be. And we need these devices to be at a consumer price level. People will pay £1,000. They'll pay £1,500 for the latest smartphone. Yeah. If we can get personal robots down to the same cost with useful functionality, people will pay that for them. You know, you know, maybe we need somebody like a mobile phone company to take these on board so that they can go, actually, you can have an Astro or whatever robot and it will be £150 a month. Yeah. It's just about making it financially viable for a consumer market, and we're not there with robots at the moment.
Well, you just brought it home, which was the subject of this. Is Astro the one that's going to break the barrier? Unfortunately, I don't think quite yet. I mean, maybe if they push forward the senior care thing more, it might, but I don't think we're there yet. Even though the price is good and it does a lot, I've showed it to people. Oh, that's cool, but nobody wants one. That's the thing.
So we've got to ask Scott, are you really in your own house? Because it obviously doesn't recognize you. Yeah.
That was an app I wrote just for this to show you guys. And I didn't realize how often he doesn't recognize me till now, because he never says anything normally, right? So, hey, Scott, how's it going? Oh, it's cool, you know me. But now I realize how many misses he's getting, huh? I had to make him be quiet. Now he's calling my iPad again. Can you hear that? But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but people aren't exactly scrambling for Astro on the waiting list, you know. So, and a lot of people, oh, should I buy this or not? You know, I got my invite. Should I? If you know what it does, tough call.
But what is it then? What is it? If it's a toy, they can sell it as a toy. If it's, what's its functionality after all? I mean, what's the purpose of? Because it seems like it's a security. It's a bit of they try to humanize it a bit, and I mean, even the name Astro sounds really cute and all. But I mean, the secret to sell is like you said. There needs to be a little bit more definition of what Astro really is. Is it just can use okay? You can deliver a beer to my wife in the living room. Yeah, is it there for 1,600? I mean, she can get out the couch. I mean, exercise will do her good anyway. She'll be fat. But I think that the best quality of Astro is in the ability of training him, educating him on what to do, and that's actually there's like unlimited possibilities. But also, I think that mobility is one of its limitations. Behind you, I saw you have a robot that I've seen previously on the internet that can actually walk, isn't it?
Oh, you mean now?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can walk. This is how Carl and Dave and I all met. This is you can still buy these, but as Carl said,
He looks like an Astro to me.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. What's really interesting is my first reaction when I saw the Aldebaran robot was that's really cool. It looks like Astro Boy. Yeah, which was Japanese command. You've got a huge problem with legs. Yeah. Anybody who tells you, including Elon Musk, anybody who tells you that leg robots are the future is just lying to you. Yeah. Because if I've got a wheeled robot like Astro, I'm driving 2 motors. Yeah. That makes him move. Yeah. If I've got a legged robot, I've got a minimum of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Very complex.
I've got to have a minimum of 10 to 12 motors to get him to walk. Yeah. And the power requirements, we can't meet those. The battery technology doesn't exist for me to have a legged robot that will work for 8 to 10 hours a day. Yeah. I can get a leg robot that worked for an hour and a half. Now does that. But it becomes really interesting when you start going, well, do I really need legs? Yeah. If a legged robot that can walk upstairs is going to cost me, and I'm going to use the example of Romeo, which was an Aldebaran robot. That was a robot that was supposed to be able to walk upstairs, although we all know it didn't ever achieve that. Yeah. If we've got a robot that can do that, those units were being sold for 400,000 euros a unit. Yeah. So I've got a choice here. I can spend 400,000 euros on one robot, or I can spend 20,000 euros on 40,000 euros on 2 robots and have one downstairs and one upstairs. Yeah. Again, viability of cost. Astro's $1,500. Well, I can afford, if I'm really that bothered about having one upstairs and downstairs, I buy 2. I know the damn thing can't go upstairs. I'm not going to install a lift just for Astro. Yeah. So it comes back to that price comparison.
It says,
Yeah, steps are a problem. We won't see that for a long time fixed.
You know, I think probably the most famous walking robot is Honda's unit, and it's completely. Say again.
Asimo.
Asimo. There's your unit. I couldn't remember the name for a second.
Me neither.
Yeah. So you look at Asimo. Yeah. Somebody actually asked Honda what it would cost. They never sold one. They only ever leased them, and they were $100,000 a year to lease.
Ooh.
Yeah. Somebody asked them if they wanted to buy one outright, what would it cost? And Honda turned around and said, we wouldn't sell a unit outright for less than $1 billion.
Jesus. Yep. We'll never see walking stairs robots in our lifetime.
No,
Probably.
we won't. And it's probably not a bad thing, because there are more important things that we should be focusing the technology on. Like Astro could be focused on elderly care, independent living, you know, working with children with special needs. You know, all of these types of fields can be addressed if we can get the price point down. Yeah. And that's really important stuff. And Astro is a really important platform to push that price point down.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I hope it succeeds, and you guys have your Astros in the UK too.
But interesting, talk about price. So yeah, at the very beginning we talked about, you know, what if you have a cloud connected robot and the company goes bust or decides to get out of it, and you turn your cloud off. If you're going to get a robot at an acceptable price point, it's going to have to be cloud connected, because that compute is going to have to be on the cloud, because you can't have enough compute in a mobile device. Not if you want to do the sort of things Astro can do.
Right.
So, I mean, that's good.
Sorry, Dave, carry on.
No, I'll say, you know, that's kind of the interesting, you know, thing, right? Is, you know, you can't have I don't think your very capable robotic platform and not have it on the cloud. And so you are going to be always vulnerable to a company going away unless they make some sort of guarantees, like we're going to make this completely open source, you know.
And I think this is why it becomes interesting about who's going to deliver these platforms. Yeah, I'd love to deliver a platform like that. I mean, I've got the technology. I mean, I've been playing around with some guys at Cardiff University about a virtual assistant on a phone that you can plug into a base that becomes a mobile robot. Yeah, that's all great, but we're such a small organization that we're very, very vulnerable to failing. And all of those people that have bought into our vision then fail. Yeah. The likes of Amazon and Google and whatever Elon Musk decides to call his robotics company, or Microsoft, or any of these mega corporations, we're in a much, much better position for them to be able to maintain the longevity of those cloud services, but they have to make money from it.
Yeah.
And if Amazon don't make money from it, Astro will become another brick.
Yeah. I mean,
Can I ask a technical or a sort of a technical question about what I think Scott mentioned earlier in his speech? He was talking about when the Astro goes through its learning phase, it tries and tries and then might give up and then tries another route. Or how does it know? Does it like try a specific amount of times, or does it have some sort of learning algorithm that tells it when it's best to give up? Because it's like what I'm working on myself. I find when to try one route and then try a different route is a sort of does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And you know, that's a good question. Because it's never the same when he tries to get out. He doesn't go to one corner of the room and another. Sometimes it's different. Sometimes he'll go to the right where the laundry room is, or where the door to the laundry room is, that's off the theater. Sometimes he'll go to the left, but usually he'll do the same spots. He'll go to the same spots, but a different order. I don't know what to conclude from that. Good question. Is he?
Yeah, I'd love to know the algorithm that it's sort of. You said it's SLAM, is it? SLAM.
You're right.
Yeah.
So SLAM is SLAM stands for simultaneous location and mapping. Okay. So the idea behind it is that you put a robot into an environment and you tell it to explore that environment. Now, in an ideal world, the only things in that environment are fixed things. Yeah. So my table and my chairs and my sofa and all of those things never move. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, if you've got a wife like mine, the table will be moved every 6 months. Yeah. Well, you'd have to reteach the robot about those new environments. So what SLAM does is SLAM builds 2 maps. It builds a single map of the environment the first time it explores it. Yeah. That's your static map. And then over the top of that, as it's moving, it builds a real-time map. Yeah. Now that real-time map is the cats and the people and the fact that you've moved, you know, you've chucked some cushions on the floor, or you've moved the poof that you put your feet on in front of the sofa to a different place. And it identifies that and it tries to dynamically map around them. Yeah. Now, the fact of the matter is, as Scott showed us, if you close the curtains too far, or the cat walks in front of the robot at a key point, it just goes, hell, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So SLAM's a really, really interesting one. Yeah. One of the biggest problems in SLAM is what's called the closed loop problem. Let's say that I have my dining room set up with my dinner table in the middle of the room. Yeah. To be able to get a robot to walk all the way around the dining room and return to a single point, the other side, is very difficult. So typically what you do is you build a temporary wall at one end of the dining room, and you start the robot's mapping at that end, and it maps all the way around your dining room table back to that temporary cardboard wall again. Yeah. You then take the wall away, but the problem you've got there is that if the robot's on say it's standing on my left-hand side, yeah, and I tell it to go to my right-hand side, you just walk behind me. But if that's the point where you've built the temporary wall, it goes all the way around the table to get to the other side.
Sure. I mean, one sort of possible, I don't know if it's a solution or not, but I was looking at different algorithms. I mean, a bit of we're all nerds as far as looking at that sort of thing and robotics is concerned, but there's, I don't know how you pronounce it, but there's depth first and breadth first shortest path algorithms, aren't there? And if you were to map, I think is it Dijkstra's or Dijkstra's algorithm, which it's a well-respected algorithm if you look it up on the web. But that should, in theory, should it not solve that sort of problem?
You're absolutely right. The problem is that our hardware isn't accurate enough yet to make the most out of an algorithm like that. Because if you take something like Pepper or Temmie, for example, yeah, they will use their laser range finding, their wheel odometry and all the rest of it to do the mapping, yeah. But the problem is that you're relying on not having any drift on those sensors. So what happens if it gets to the bottom of the table and it comes off the carpet onto a piece of wood floor, and one wheel spins. Yeah, that throws out its location.
All right.
So
Yeah.
it can deal with it from the point of view that it can use its real-time map to go, oh, I thought I was here, but I'm not. There's something in the way there, and I'll navigate round it. But when it gets back to the other end of the table where the 2 points should meet up, all of a sudden you've got a drift because one wheel span. Yeah. So it's a very, very complex solution to fix. And I'll be honest with you, Aldebaran haven't fixed it. With Pepper, Temi haven't fixed it with their Temi robot range. Yeah. It's a really tough problem. But as Scott said earlier on, with the advances in AI, we really do have the potential for it to be able to understand that robot, that wheel slipped, and that shouldn't happen at that point. And actually that was an anomaly, and we can include it in that anomaly into the calculation. And now we can actually still join those 2 points together. Yeah. But we've got all of the other issues that go with AI of, is it going to steal your credit cards, buy a load of stuff that it wants, and leave you destitute? Yeah.
Let's hope not. That's sure. Yeah, it's such a complex set of variables to try and
seriously explore some of the SLAM stuff, but particularly focus on what the issues with SLAM are, because it is a really, really interesting field.
Yeah.
But unless somebody cracks what the issues are with SLAM, we're never going to get past this point. And again, somebody like Google or Amazon or Microsoft or Facebook or whoever it is are going to be the people that have the money to invest, a couple of $1 million in finding the solution to these issues. Yeah.
I have moved some things around in the house, and Astro was able to still, but no major changes, but some chairs and stuff. So they've come quite a long way with that, right? I mean, like with Pepper, you could like move a chair out of the room and it would still be okay, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. With Pepper, you map an initial environment, and we do this a lot with clients in commercial environments, where you map it and then you expect things to change. And this is why they have the 2 maps. They have what they call the static map, which is this is what the environment looked like when I mapped it. And then you have the real-time map, and it's the real-time map that's actually the important thing. Because if Pepper, if I've done the static map in an office block, for example, Pepper's on the floor, it knows where all the meeting rooms are, it knows how to get into them and all the rest of it. Yeah. But that's without any people there. It's the real-time map as it moves through that environment where there are people, where it goes, there's something there, I need to map around it. Yeah. Or it could be a pot plant, or it could be a cat. It doesn't matter. But the combination of that static map and real-time map is actually what makes SLAM work.
Yeah, in other words, if you drastically change the interior of that room, they would be completely lost.
I think a really good example is that if I was to have an Astro and I trained it on my house now, and then I moved house, I wouldn't expect it to work. I'd expect to have to retrain it on my new house.
You'd have to retrain a person, wouldn't you?
Well,
know where
but the difference is, Chris, is that we retrain ourselves on the fly. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
my cat retrains itself on the fly. You know, when we move, you know, and I let the cat out of its cat box, it looks around the room and goes, bloody hell, the walls are in a different place. Whereas a robot won't. It'll go, why isn't that wall there? And that's the big difference. So
Can it shout, I'm lost?
Well, do you know what? If it was good, and I'm sure Astro is good, it probably can shout, I'm lost. Yeah. You know, Pepper, which is the robot I've done most navigation with, the first thing you do is you localize it. So you basically stick it into an area you've already taught it, and it looks around and goes, oh yeah, I think I'm here. It doesn't always get it right. Yeah. And if it doesn't get it right and you go to X point in this room, yeah, it'll go, hey, I thought there was a wall there, but there isn't. So I'll just try and find a new route to find it. So yeah, I mean, navigation is a massively complex field, yeah, far more complex than I ever want to get deep into. I know Dave's played around with it the same as I have, but it is hugely complex. Yeah. And if you've got a robot like Astro that you can get it to follow you around your environment and tell it what all the waypoints are, and what I mean by waypoint is a location. Yeah. So I can get it to follow me into the kitchen and go, this is the fridge. Yeah. This is the cooker. Then go into another room and say, you know, this is the movie chair. Yeah, that's really clever. But if Scott moves house and his movie room's in a different relationship to his kitchen where the fridge is, yeah, of course you've got to retrain it. Yeah, you and I can do it. Our cats and dogs can do it. Yeah, you know, but the robot is very fixed in what it understands.
So far.